Handicapper Steve here, handicapping the racing from Cheltenham Racecourse here on day 3 of the festival. It is Thursday, the 16th of March, 2023. Gonna look at all the races on the program from Cheltenham, but before I get on to that, remember to please follow me on Twitter at HorseRacingKid5 for more selections for race courses around the world, and join me throughout the week, tomorrow, again, for the final day of the festival, Gold Cup Day here from Cheltenham, and also Saturday, not from Cheltenham, but it's the Uttoxeter Midlands Grand National. I always like that race, so join me for my preview of that. But we have 7 races to look at on today's program from Cheltenham. Let's get to it right now, starting off with the 130, the first race, which is the Grade 1 Turner's Novice Chase. It's a Grade 1 event for Class 1 horses, going for a $210,000 purse. Race for novice 5-year-olds and upwards. Field of 9 horses, going 4,000 meters or 2.5 miles over the Chase course. I'm going to take here the 3-horse Banbridge as a top selection. Let's go 3-6-1 in your tri-cash trifecta. 3-6-1 tri-cash trifecta, top selection of 3-horse Banbridge. 7-year-old gelded by Doyen here. Joseph O'Brien trains one. JJ Slevin gets the mount on this one. The horse's most recent outing came the 4th of February at Leopardstown. 2 miles and 1/8 in a Grade 1 Irish Arkle Novice Chase. And he finished second by 10 lengths behind Afabalovo, who just, ran a terrific race and ran decently at the festival so far this season. This horse, he's closing up well, but, he needed a longer trip, but he placed behind a decent horse. Refreshing to the Novice Chase here today, of a longer trip of ground. I think he's in a good spot to find the winner's enclosure today. 2 back in the Grade Drinmore Novices Chase at Ferry House, 2.5 miles, 4th of December. He finished 3rd by 19 lengths, and he needed something there, but he got around the race course well. Not the world's worst race for him there. And then he ran on the 12th of November locally on fast ground, 2 miles in the Grade 2 Arkle Challenge Trophy Trial. He won by 6 lengths that day and was on cruise control. A lot of horses, it seemed, weren't handling the going during the November meeting here at Cheltenham, but he took off clear, being the group of horses home. And then prior to that, in early October at Gowan, 2.5 miles of beginner's chase, he won by 8.5 lengths there and basically won on cruise control. He's been improving with every single race, even with some defeats here and there. I'm going to take him here at 7-2. I think he's been on the up and up, and he's sitting on that good race. I think the 6-horse Mighty Potter's your second likeliest winner for Davy Russell. He's been pretty perfect this season. Won over his debut over the Chases at Down Royal very, very easily by 3.5 lengths. Came back to win the Drinmore Novices Chase at Ferry House, and then came back to win the Ladbrokes Novices Chase at Leopardstown. After that, he's been bet into the ground his last few races, getting Davy Russell back aboard. It wouldn't surprise me if he finds the winner's circle. He ran actually last season at the festival in the Supreme Novices Hurdle, where he pulled up out of it. Constitution Hill really freaked that day. John Boy finished second. It's a great horse. This horse just wasn't keeping up with him there. But coming back here off some decent runs this season, I'll give him a shot on the ticket. He could definitely win. But to recount my selection for the opener, the first race from Cheltenham, the 130, it's the Grade 1 Turner's Novices Chase. Let's take the 3-horse Banbridge. Give kudos to the 6-horse Mighty Potter. 3-6-1 tri-cash trifecta. 3-6 in your place pot. Let's get to the second event. The 210, the second race from Cheltenham. It's the Pertemps Network Final Handicap Hurdle. It's a Class 1 Premier Handicap Hurdle going for a $120,000 purse. Race for 5-year-olds and upwards. We have a field here of 24 horses entered to go the 4,800-meter distance, or 3 miles over the hurdle course. I'm going to take the number 17 horse, The Changing Man, as a top selection. Let's go 17-7 in your forecast exacta. 17-7 forecast exacta. Top selection is a 17 horse The Changing Man, 6-year-old gun by Walk in the Park. Scissor trains one. Brendan Powell gets the mount. Horse's most recent appearance came the 18th of February at Haydock, yielding ground 3 miles in a Class 2 handicap hurdle, and he finished second by 1.5 lengths that day, and I thought he had a decent trip. He traveled well, he jumped well, he quickened up a lot. Not a bad run. He is stepping up in slightly more class here today, but I think he could, sit on that good race to win here today. He's been definitely improving as the season goes on. 2 back at Huntington on 27th of January, 3 miles in a furlong in a Class 2 handicap hurdle. And he finished second by 1.5 lengths. The winner, Itchy Feet, really took off clear. But this horse, he was staying well. He had a decent turn of foot. Not the world's worst race for him there. And then right before New Year's at Taunton, 3 miles in a Class 3 handicap hurdle. They brought him down in class from the previous race, it seemed. And he finished second by a half a length. And again, he had a great run in. He jumped well, but he just couldn't catch the winner who just had that jump on him. But again, not the world's worst race for him. And then 20th of November at Uttoxeter, 2 miles 7/8 in a Class 3 handicap hurdle on soft ground, winning by 4.5 lengths. lengths with no weight on his back at 91 cents to the dollar. Everybody and his mother knew he was going to win that day. He's been on the improve with every single race this season, even with some going up in class. He's going to face the ultimate challenge today, but I think he could win. At 20 to 1, I'm going to use him. I think the 7-horse Captain Muir is your second likeliest winner, 7-year-old Geln by Milan. Nicky Henderson trains this one. Sam Twist and Davies gets the mount. Horse's most recent appearance came 9th of December at Cheltenham. 3 miles in a Class 2 handicap hurdle where he won by 7 that day, and he really took off clear on the quite fast ground. Refreshing here off the bench. Not going to be as cold as it was in December here at Cheltenham, but he should get a good trip, and I think he could win. 2-back seasonal reappearance 7th of November at Kempton. 2 miles and 5/8 in a Class 2 handicap hurdle. He finished second by 3/4 length. He needed a longer trip that day. The winner called me Lord's a decent horse. This horse, he was traveling decently off of the shorter trip, and then prior to that, a Cartmel on the 1st of June in a Class 3 Novice Limited Handicap Chase. He finished third by 2.5 lengths that day, and over the bigger obstacles, he never really traveled decently. Had a few mistakes there, but prior to that entry in May, 2.5 miles in a Class 2 handicap hurdle, he finished second by a length. The winner had the jump on him late, but this horse did get around the race course decently. Coming here, it wouldn't surprise me if he gets a good trip and win. 10 to 1, a definite use in your place pot also, and depending on his price, maybe a small each way. But to recount my selection for the 210, the second race from Cheltenham, it's the Pertemps Network final handicap hurdle. Let's take the 17-horse The Changing Man as a top selection. Give kudos to the 7-horse Captain Moores. 17-7 forecast exacta. Use them both in the play spot here. Let's get to the third race, beginning of the quad pod from Cheltenham. The 250, the third race from Cheltenham, it's the Grade 1 Ryanair Chase. It's a Grade 1 event for Class 1 horses going for a $450,000 purse, raced for 5-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 9 horses going 4,200 meters or 2 miles and 5/8 over the Chase course. I'm going to take a shot with this one. I'm going to go with the 1-horse Blue Nord as a top selection. Blue Lord, not Blue Nord. Blue Lord as a top selection. I'm going to go 159 in your TriCast trifecta. 159 TriCast trifecta. Top selection to 1-horse Blue Lord. 8-year-old Geln by Blue Bressel here. Willie Mullins trains one. Paul Townend gets the mount. The horse's most recent appearance came the 5th of February at Leopardstown, 2 miles and 1 furlong in the Grade 2 Dublin Chase, and he finished second by 7 lengths behind Gentleman de Me, who really freaked that day. This horse over a little bit of a shorter trip of ground, he just never really got going. He needed something more late. Refreshing to a longer trip, which I think he should absolutely adore. I think he's sitting in that very good race. 2-back he ran at Leopardstown during the Christmas meeting. 2 miles and 1/8 in the Grade 1 Paddy Powers Reward Club Chase. And he won by 11 that day, and he basically put on a show, being Chacon Poissois was a decent horse, Captain Guinness, decent horse. This horse just jumped well and destroyed the competition. A very good race there. And then prior to that, in the Clonmel Oil Chase at Clonmel, 2.5 miles on the 17th of November, he won by a neck. He was all out that day off the bench, and he excelled. A very, very good race from there over the longer trip of ground. And then before then, the Barberstown Castle Novice Chase at Punchestown, 2 miles fast ground, 28th of April. He won by a head that day. He had to be used a lot that day. Didn't have the fluidest of jumps late, but he still got the job done there. And then the Arkle last year at the festival, he finished third by 7 3/4 lengths there behind Edwardstone, and he just never really got going late there. But I think this season he's been running a lot better than he has last season. I do think with the longer chip he goes up a lot, and I think at 5 to 1 he could upset Shishkin, who seems like his form's been going a little bit downhill as the season goes on. I think this horse's form's been going up, especially with the longer chip. He should go up. So I'm going to use this Blue Lord here. I think your second likeliest one is the 5-horse Fury Road for Davy Russell and Gordon Elliott. Most recently in the Irish Gold Cup at Leopardstown over the 3, he finished third by 8 3/4 lengths that day. And again, he was moving late, but he didn't jump a bad race at all against some tough horses. Not nearly as tough horses today. I think he should get a better trip to win. Should be more into it early on. 2-back in the Savills Chase at Leopardstown during the Christmas meeting. He finished third by 6 1/4 lengths that day. And again, he just kind of got beat by slightly better horses on the day. And then winner at Down Royal in November very, very nicely in his seasonal reappearance. Back to the 2 mile 5 furlong trip. Not as tough as the Irish Gold Cup last time out. I'm going to give him a shot also. His form could definitely win against these horses. Shishkin, he's not the same horse that you saw last season. Of course, we all remember him pulling up out of the Queen Mother last year. He wants to go to the longer trip, which is going to be a bit of a head scratcher. He faced light competition in the Ascot Chase last time out. And then before that in Tingle Creek, he should have did a lot better, but he really just completely hit the wall. Going to the longer trip, his form's been decreasing. I just have questions. I think the other two are on the increase and are sitting on those good runs. I can't take him at a short price here at 4 to 5. So in the quad pot, we're going to use the other two. So to recount my selection for the third, the 250 from Cheltenham now, it's Grade 1 Ryanair Chase. Let's take the 1-horse Blue Lord. Give kudos to the to the where are we? To the 5 horse Fury Road, 159 tri-cash trifecta, 1-5 in your multi-race. Let's get to the fourth event from Cheltenham. The 3:30, the fourth race from Cheltenham now. It's the Grade 1 Stayers Hurdle. It's Grade 1 event for Class 1 horses, going for a $421,500 purse, race for 4-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 11 horses going 4,800 meters or 3 miles over the hurdle course. I'm going to take as a top selection here the number 9 horse Paisley Park. I'm going to go 9-11-4 in your tri-cash trifecta. 9-11-4 tri-cash trifecta. Top selection 9 horse Paisley Park. This 11-year-old going by Oscar here. Emma Lavelle trains this one. Aiden Coleman gets the mounts. The horse's most recent outing came 20th of January at Cheltenham. Soft ground, 3 miles, and the Grade 2 Cleve Hurdle. And he finished third by 9 1/4 lengths that day. And he jumped a decent race. He had a decent turn of foot. I didn't think it was a half bad race. I like his form this year. I thought last year's form was kind of decreasing, but since he came back this year, he's really been on the up and up. And I think, the old man might win today, and I think he could get the job done finally here at Cheltenham during the festival. Like I said, not a bad race at all against some tough horses last time out. Refreshing here to the same going. I think he really run a good race. 2 back here in on Boxing Day at Kempton, 3 miles into 16th in the Grade 1 long walk hurdle. Guess what? He won by 4 1/4 lengths that day, and he took off clear. He quickened up nicely. The old Paisley Park was out that day. A very good return to the races there, to the winner's enclosure there. And then prior to that, in the long distance hurdle at Newbury, 3 miles in fast ground, 25th of November. He finished second by a neck behind Champ that day. And again, he jumped a terrific race. He had a decent turn of foot. Showed really good potential. Very fluid jumps compared to the season before, where he really wasn't running at all. He ran in the Champion Stayers Hurdle at Punchtown last April on the fast ground over the 3, where he finished 5th by 6 1/4 lengths, never really jumping well, never getting the run in. He ran at the Festival last year in this race, where he finished 3rd by 2 3/4 lengths. He jumped decently early on, but he just couldn't keep up late. And then he won the Cleve Hurdle last season quite nicely on fast ground last November. But I think his form has been a lot better this year. He's been on the up and up. At 12-1, he's going to be my upsetter, and he's going to be my one of my best bet of the day. I think the 11 horse Tepu is your second likeliest winner for Davy Russell and Gordon Elliott. I love the victory in the Galmoy Hurdle at Gowan in January. Winning by 15, he basically put on a show that day. Before that, in the Hatton Grace Hurdle at Ferry House in December, he finished, he won by a neck again, under the drive, excelling. Another horse going to the longer trip. He was crying out for it late last season, finally doing it this year. He's really been on the improve. Another horse at 4-1, watch out for him to really run that good race. Let's give Davy Russell another champion hurdle here, or, give him another Cheltenham victor. So to recount my selection for the fourth, the 3:30 from Cheltenham now. It's the Grade 1 Stayers Hurdle. We're going to take as an upset the 9 horse Paisley Park. Give kudos to the 11 horse Teopu. 9-11-4, tri-cash trifecta. 9-11 in your quad pot. To the 5th event now. The 4:10, the 5th race from Cheltenham. It is the Magners Plate Handicap Chase. It's a premier handicap chase for Class 1 horses, going for a $144,000 purse. Race for 5-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 26 horses entered, but only 24 could go the distance of ground of 4,200 meters, or 2 miles and 5/8 over the chase course. I'm going to take the 4 horse Midnight River as a top selection. Let's go 4-7 in your forecast exacta. 4-7 forecast exacta. Top selection of 4 horse Midnight River. This 8-year-old going by Midnight Legend. Dan Skelton trains one. Harry Skelton gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came New Year's Day here at Cheltenham. 2 miles and 5/8 in a Class 1 Premier Handicap Chase, and it was a success for him, winning by 2.5 lengths that day. He sat back early. He jumped a terrific race, and on the run, and he took off clear like a rocket. A very good race. Coming here off the bench back to Cheltenham, where he's had good races in the past, I think he could improve off that race and sit on the very good run. He is getting a little bit more weight, though, of 9 more pounds from the last race, carrying 163 pounds opposed to 158 last time out, or not 8, what did I say, 9 pounds? 5 pounds, that's what he's carrying more today. But refreshing here, I think he really run the good race. 2 back he ran on the November meeting here at Cheltenham on the 12th of November. Good ground, 2.5 miles in a Class 1 Premier Handicap Chase. And he finished 3rd by 3 1/4 lengths that day. He jumped okay. I don't know if he really handled the going that day, but, he got around the race course well in defeat, but he definitely improved with that race after that. And then prior to that, he ran at Stratford on 27th of October, 2 miles 3/8 in a Class 3 Handicap Chase, winning by 25 that day. He was much the best that day. He quickened up nicely. A very, very good race there. And then last March at Utoxeter, soft ground, 3 miles in a Class 2 Novice Handicap Chase, finished 3rd by 4.5 lengths that day. And again, he got around the race course decently. Refreshing here back back to the 2 miles 5 furlongs off some decent runs locally. I'm gonna give him a massive shot on the ticket. A quad pod horse would be the 7 horse El Redodo. Pardon me, I can't speak. It's been too late today. 6-year-old gun by Kev Guard. Harry Coven's on this one for Paul Nichols. Most recently ran the horse here at Cheltenham on the 20th of January, 2 miles 5/8 in a Class 1 Premier Handicap Chase. Winning by a length that day. He was all out. He quickened up nicely, and he got the job done. A very good return victor that day. He ran here on New Year's Day in the Premier Handicap Chase, where he finished 4th by 8 lengths, and he just kind of hit the wall. Maybe just wasn't 100% crank that day. I thought with the quick turnaround from the previous race, he got the job done. And then off the race before at Cheltenham in November, 2 miles and a half in the Premier Handicap Chase, he finished 4th by 5 lengths and completely hit the wall. Going through his form, he doesn't run well off benches. He needs those quick turnaround races. He's getting a quick turnaround race from Trial Day back in January, which I think should suit him well. And another horse at 6:20, it wouldn't surprise me. Definitely using your quad pod. But to recap my selection for the 4:10, the 5th race from Cheltenham now, it's the Magners Plate Handicap Chase. Let's take the 4-horse Midnight River as a top selection. Give kudos to the 7, 4-7 Forecast Exacta. Use them both in the quad pod. Let's get to the 6th event from Cheltenham. The 450 from Cheltenham now, it is the Grade 2 Jack the Bromhead Mares Novice Hurdle. It's a Grade 2 Mares Novice Hurdle for Class 1 horses, going for a $126,000 purse. Race for novice 4-year-olds and upwards. Fillies mares here. Field of 21 horses going the distance of ground of 3,400 meters, or 2 miles and 1/8 over the hurdle course. I'm going to take the 1-horse Lucia as a top selection. I'm going to go 110 in your Forecast Exacta. 110 Forecast Exacta, top selection 1-horse Lucia. 5-year-old mare by the Gurkha. Nikki Henderson trains one. Nico de Boinville gets the mount. This horse has been pretty perfect. She is perfect. 4 for 4 lifetime. Most recent appearance came at Exeter on the 12th of February. Good ground, 2 miles and 1/8 in the Class 1 listed novice hurdle. And she took off clear, winning by nearly a dozen lengths at 62 cents a dollar. She was just fluid over the jumps, and she got the job done. Really good race. Race before, she ran 26 November at Newbury. Seasonal reappearance, 2 miles in a Class 1 novice hurdle. First off the bench, first over the obstacles. She won by 5.5 lengths that day. And again, she was on cruise control all throughout, never really broke a sweat. An all-around good race, and then a bumper last March at Sandown, 2 miles there, winning by 17, again, on cruise control, destroying the group of horses. Okay, she's going to be facing her biggest challenge today, but she's basically run the best speed figures out of anybody by more than 20. Coming here today at 6-5, I don't like betting a horse this slow in a race like this, but she looks like a very likely winner on paper. A small upsetter could be the 10-horse Jatara. Jessica Harrington trains one, gets O'Keefe up in the saddle. It hasn't won over the obstacles yet, but in a main hurdle on Boxing Day at Leopardstown, I thought she had a very good second place finish that day, where she was jumping well late, and then last time out of Ferry House in the Grade 3 Solarina Mares Novice Hurdle, she finished second by 1 quarter lengths, and again, she was jumping well, had a decent turn of foot. She's getting a little bit of distance decrease from the last run. I'll give her a shot on the quad pot to end it off 15-1, but Lucia's really run those better races, and it wouldn't surprise me if she wins here today. But also, I have to say, she is also running here against her tougher horses, so it's going to be exciting, interesting one to end off the quad pod with this one. So to recap my selection for the 6th, 450 from Cheltenham, it's Grade 2 Jack the Bromhead Mares Novice Hurdle. Let's take the 1-horse Lucia. Give kudos to the 10-horse Jatara. 110 Forecast Exacta, and to end off the quad pod, 110 for me. Let's get to the nightcap, the 7th event on Thursday's program from Cheltenham. The 7th race to 5:30, the nightcap, the finale on the program from Cheltenham. It is the Muir Amateur Handicap Chase. It's a Class 2 Amateur Handicap Chase going for a $90,000 purse. Race for 5-year-olds and upwards. Horses raised 0 to 145. 26 horses are entered, but only 24 could go the distance of ground here of, the distance of ground of 3 miles and 1/4 over the chase course. My top selection here, I'm going to go with the number 3-horse Bow Points. Let's go 315 in your Forecast Exacta. 315 Forecast Exacta, top selection of the 3-horse Beauport. This several gelding by Califett here. Nigel Twiston Davies trains. Zach Baker gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came on New Year's Day here at Cheltenham. 2 miles and 5/8 in the Grade 2 Paddy Power Novices Chase, and he finished 4th by 20 lengths there, and he just couldn't keep up late. I think on the soft ground, he just really couldn't get going. A little bit of high weight also. Refreshing to longer trip here today where they'll slow it down early on. I think the hidden class could come out. I think he could really run a good race here today. Two back in a novice chase here at Shelton, over at Haydock, 2 miles 3/4 30th in November. He finished second by 11 lengths that day, and he got around the race course well. He needed something more late. Not the world's worst race for him there. And then in an intermediate chase, Class 1 event at Carlisle, 2.5 miles on the 30th of October. He won by a half a length that day, quickened up nicely, and went away with it. He's going to longer trip, which I think should be no problem. He has a decent handicap here. I'm going to use him at 10 to 1. I think your second likeliest winner is the 15-horse Stumptown. Gets O'Neill up in the saddle for Gavin Cromwell. Most recently ran the horse here over at Sandown 16th February, 3 miles in a Class 3 handicap chase, and he won by 7 that day. Coming to this side of the going to England from Ireland from the race before, he basically just stayed the trip well in the fast ground, quickened up nicely, went away with it. A very good race, even with the high weight. Getting 158 pounds, I think, is a competitive weight in the spot, and I think he can improve off of that run last time out Sandown. Two back at Thurles, 22nd of January, 2 miles 3/4 in a handicap chase. He won by a dozen that day, and again, he stayed the trip well, went away with it late, much the best there. And then prior to that, at Punchestown on Christmas Eve, 2 miles 7/8 in a handicap chase. He finished 7 by 8 1/4 lengths that day. Had a few mistakes, which probably cost him, but he was running decently in the later stages of the race. He's been on the improve with every single race so far this season. At 3 to 1, wouldn't surprise me. We'll use him on the ticket to end off the program. So to recap my selection for the nightcap, the 5:30 from Cheltenham, it's Kim Muir Amateurs Handicap Chase. Gonna take the 3-horse Beauport as a top selection. Give kudos to the 15-horse Stumptown. 3:15 forecast exacta. Use them both in the exact forecast combinations here. So good luck to all. Remember to join me tomorrow for my Cheltenham Gold Cup preview here from Cheltenham. Also Saturday for my Uttoxeter Midlands Grand National. And remember also to follow me on Twitter at Horse Racing Kit 5 for more selections for race courses around the world. Good luck, everybody.